Court ends at 4. So you're virtually giving them 17 minutes of normal time.
Yeah. Go on, mute ya, go on. Ease yourself, just keep it calm, mute ya, star. Only put pressure in my corner. One time it hard for carry on. You no need no girl for turn to, no man for talk to. Feelings hurt, pan the journey so far. Show me, know me, we go do things and nobody argue. Me like go the loose and start hold me harder.
Wagwan Success family, hope everyone is doing alright. If you're new to the channel, welcome and make sure to subscribe to get all our latest videos. Like this video so we can continue to drop more contents like this one. Alright, so today we want to talk about Bert Samuel's interview with TVJ, one of the lawyers representing Vybz Kartel and his co-accused did an interview with TVJ, and it was a phenomenal interview.
Let's contextualize for the folks who don't know. Was the attempted bribery of one of the jurors.
That's correct.
In the face of that, the judge did what?
The judge said, okay, I'm just going to give them the normal warning not to be influenced by anyone, when he ought not to have done that. He ought to have removed the juror. Alright,
so tainted jury submission. Vybz Kartel defense attorney made a submission to the Privy Council regarding a tainted juror, despite the law stating that 11 jurors can give a guilty verdict. The judge allowed 10 jurors to do so. The judge's decision to retain the tainted juror was expedient, not lawful, and not within the best interest of justice. Example, the judge allowed the tainted juror to remain on the jury because it was convenient to do so, and not because it was right and within the law to do so.
They've been there for 13 years in custody. You know, they're hoping that...
Wrongly so, you're arguing.
Yeah, because they were not given a fair trial. A lot of people don't understand what a fair trial. A person who is guilty is entitled to a fair trial. A person who is innocent is entitled to a fair trial.
So not a fair trial. Bert Samuels argued that Vybz Kartel was not given a fair trial. Regardless of his lifestyle, everyone is entitled to a fair trial. A lack of fairness in the trial process could lead to falsified evidence being used against the accused, and the unfairness of this trial played out in the public eyes, right? And we're all now aware of all the tricks and the tactics and the strategy that they try to use against Vybz Kartel. And again, it can all be, as most people would say, a witch hunt, you know, and I mean because of, you know, the music that him sing, the lifestyle that him lead, and all these other things. So, you know, we all see it.
And there's one other sticking point that you argue. Which was the other? It was the bribery of the juror. It was the lateness of the
lateness, which, okay, so the judge had 56 days of trial. It's a Thursday afternoon. It's 17 minutes to 4. He had the Friday when he could have put them to retire. He decided we're going to have them retiring at 17 minutes to 4 to consider 56 days of trial.
Bad judgment by the judge. The judge's decision to give the jury only 17 minutes to reach a verdict after a 64-day trial was rushed and unfair. You cannot expect the jury to make a decision based on a 64-day recollection in only 17 minutes before the courthouse is closed. Right? Thinking about it, I am just saddened by the decision that they made. Like in that situation, you make a decision based on a man's freedom and what the evidence and everything that is presented before the jury, and you give them only 17 minutes of 64 days to recall and think about and try if you say, all right, then, you know, we agree with this, we don't agree with that. Okay, let's move forward. Only 17 minutes. Right? I cannot even edit a YouTube video within 17 minutes. You know what I mean? Much less something that happens 64 days for really think about it and really have a good think about, you know, making these decisions based on the evidence that was presented. I have no words. I'm speechless. I'm just speechless about that fact, you know?
I'm not certain you can answer, or you would want to answer this. Is a suggestion here that these gentlemen are not guilty? Or are you saying that it was something never go right in the trial?
Well, for you to say someone is guilty or not guilty, you'd have the divine powers to be able to say that.
Guilty or not guilty? Never Bell asks this question. Bert Samuels then emphasized that in court the jury decides guilt or innocence based on evidence, not personal opinion, but he did not outright say whether or not they are guilty or innocent, which he hold that right to, not to answer or to answer, to questions, because again he is the lawyer and him don't want to say too much.
Example, on the question of retrial, we're going to have a huge issue because you know that the voice notes have been in the public space. And a jury ought not to come into a trial who have been colored by anything that they have heard outside the courtroom.
So that was a part of
pre-trial
the
publicity.
Argument, right?
Retrial difficulty. A retrial would be challenging due to the widespread availability of Vybz Kartel voice notes, which could influence potential jurors. And by now, everyone in Jamaica knows about this case. It's one of the biggest stories in Jamaica. It's like when you have an election and everyone in the country is aware and knows, small, big, young, old, even the man who just passed away yesterday, R.I.P. to the man who passed away yesterday, right? Everyone is aware and them know that election time is now and election is taking place. So that is Vybz Kartel case. Everyone and their mother know about this case, right? So that's what he's saying. There's a difficulty with the retrial because for a juror to come on, them already come on with all these information and these things and perceived everything that has actually have already been out there and happened. Them know about it, so it's kind of hard to come onto a case where you already know like the back of your hand already, right?
The DPP herself went into the judge's chambers and encouraged him to continue with the case, although there was clear evidence that one of the members was seeking to bribe the others. And since then, that person has been convicted.
DPP influence. The Director of Public Prosecution, the DPP, influenced the judge to continue with the case despite the tainted juror, which Bert Samuels believed was wrong and biased, because as the DPP you have to make sure justice is served, right? You cannot just make decisions above the law, and that is what she did, and that is also why she's a DPP, but you see her with the prosecution is almost like she want to take up the prosecution job and just do the job for them and just convict Vybz Kartel and say, okay, then Ray, you are guilty and a prison want you for that. That is basically what she's doing. Leaving her office, leaving her job to come and do the prosecution work for them. I really joke.
Immediately, once the announcement is made that they are freed, then a paper must be transmitted to the general penitentiary, to wherever they're being kept, and they must be released.
So if they're here at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're out by 10:30?
Yes, pack your stuff and go, because after that it becomes false imprisonment.
Privy Council decision. If the Privy Council decides to free Vybz Kartel and his co-accused, they must be released immediately. They could also sue for false imprisonment if they are kept any longer, and then that becomes a legal matter for grounds of suing and all these other things.